What we do here is go back.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Ballroom A at Comic-Con. My name is Mike Balsam. I am a host on Your TV and also a new local platform on YouTube called Giant TV that we are just getting going. I want to welcome you to today's session. With me is Roger L. Jackson, a voice actor, trained in theater. He's done voices for about 30, probably more. We probably missed a couple. 30 movies and TV series. Productions including Scream, that's where most of you probably know him from as Ghostface. He's also done voices for the Powerpuff Girls and the Book of Pooh, amongst many others. Countless video game franchises, including the Star Wars and Star Trek franchises, Final Fantasy, The Sims, Lego games, and Minecraft. He voices the toy that comes with each PS4 game console. I guarantee everyone has heard Roger's voice. What you probably haven't heard is his 3-octave range singing voice. He's also has put in time as a commercial artist, designing t-shirts and other paraphernalia for some rock acts that you may have heard of, a little group called the Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, some guy that used to play guitar named Jimi Hendrix, and Ozzy Osbourne as well. And he's won awards for that aspect of his work. Roger L. Jackson, everybody. So I'm sure many of you have some questions, but do you mind if I just run a little bit of an interview myself? Is that good with you, Roger?
First, let me say,
yeah.
Hello, Niagara Falls.
All right, enough clapping. That is enough. It is time for me to be speaking.
Are you going to take requests later too? That's because there's a lot that I think we want to hear today.
There you go, throw them out.
How does one begin a career as a voice actor? When you were in theater school, is that what you thought you were going to end up doing?
Well, no, not exactly, but actually it all started... It started as a young child.
With puppetry. That is how I started.
Go away, no one wants to hear you.
As I was saying, it started with puppetry. And so developed into acting.
Anyway, started out with puppetry as a young child. I was growing up with Paul Winchell on the TV, who would later become a voice actor. He did Jerry Mahoney and some other puppets. The Muppets came about when I was a kid, starting with Ralph the Dog on the Jimmy Dean Show.
Hey, Ralph.
Hey, Jimmy. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I can't help imitating things. That's how I got started, annoying people by doing imitations, imitating everybody I grew up with on TV.
So were you the class clown in high school?
Not exactly. I love that line from Waiting for Guffman. I wasn't the class clown, but I sat behind him and I would study him.
Tell me how Scream came about.
Well, I was living in the Bay Area, working in the San Francisco Bay Area at the time. And they were filming Scream in Santa Rosa, which is just north of San Francisco. It's where Alfred Hitchcock filmed, great.
I love getting old, you forget everything.
Alfred Hitchcock filmed a great serial killer film there, too.
Psycho. That one? No, another one?
It was Joseph Cotton, Teresa Wright.
Oh, man.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Yes, well, you've all got IMDb. All you kids with your little computers on your phone watches and things you can
We've all got
find
IMDb. Is that a disease?
Well, it could be.
It could be.
If you like movies, it can be a disease because you're always looking things up.
Anyway, they were getting ready to film the first scene with Drew Barrymore. And they had planned to dub all the voices later, the voice of Ghostface in Los Angeles. But Ms. Barrymore, thank you very much, Drew, who I still have not met, but thank you, wanted to have an actor to play the scene with, instead of somebody just feeding her lines like a script person going, "If you hang up on me again, I'll gut you like a fish. Can you handle that, Blondie?" You know, having to respond to that.
Right.
She's an actor. So they were casting in the Bay Area for an actor to play the scene with her.
But not to actually be in the movie.
Right.
Right.
So I went, and it was all right there in the script. It was a brilliant script. You see that this character, this guy on the phone, has got to be interesting enough, sexy enough, to keep her talking. That it's not, you know, I was really there, and some guys were going, "I don't know what this is about. Somebody said they're looking for a new Freddy Krueger, and what kind of Ghostface isn't that?" Ghostface is very charming to begin. "Oh, you're going to watch a movie? I only make popcorn when I'm going to watch a movie. What movie are you going to watch? Oh, you like scary movies? What's your favorite scary movie?" "What did you think I said?" You know, it's cat and mouse. So it was all right there. I did my audition into a microphone, no recording booth, and they hired me. Thank you again. And we were filming. How many of you know the film, Scream? Have you seen Scream? Oh, good. Thank you. If you know that opening scene, I'm right outside the window of that room with a little cover over my head because it was actually raining. And so I'm trying to watch her through the window. She doesn't know. They kept me separated from the cast, so they didn't have any kind of visual thing in their memory to respond to. Because there's nothing scarier than the monster you make in your own mind, as we who grew up with radio theater learned. And while we were doing it, Marianne Magdalena, the producer, came over and talked to me, and she and Wes had decided they liked what I was doing so well, they were just going to keep me in the movie. So that, again, a little blessing. And that started the tradition of my being live on the set with all the actors playing the scene. At that second day, I was in a little garage off to the side watching the camera feed through a monitor on a cell phone with a mic, talking to whatever actor I was working with. So it was, "You hang up on me again, I'll cut you like a fish. I like fish." Or, you know, whatever the line is. And that's how it started.
And they kept you on the scene for the other films in the Scream franchise?
Indeed, every one of them.
Is that something that you did in other movies as well? Or was it
No.
mostly behind a microphone in other movies?
It was, well, in most movies, I'm either doing ADR, additional dialogue replacement later, or, yeah, in post.
Up to Scream, you'd only been in one major film at that time, Mars Attacks, if we want to call that a major film. But, you know, were you surprised at, you know, where Scream went?
Yeah, it was great. I knew, you know, I never got to see a whole script, so I didn't know who was the killer or killers or whatever. Sorry for those of you who haven't seen the film.
I'm bad.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, but it was just a great thing to be involved with. Wes Craven was a great man.
What were some of the other favorites that you've done other than Scream?
Well, Mars Attacks was fun because I'm a big Tim Burton fan, and we literally, you know, he was sitting in a chair here. I'm on a microphone at Lucasfilms out in the wilds of Marin County in Northern California. And he was just going, "Okay, let me hear it. I'll see what you do." Well, how about something like,
Do not run. We come in peace. We are your friends.
"Yeah, okay, I like that. Okay, go ahead." And that was it. The whole thing was recorded just standing in this room. So,
You've also made a name for yourself doing impressions of a number of Hollywood stars.
I do voice doubling.
Voice doubling. So Liam Neeson.
Yeah, Liam Neeson's one of the ones I've done the most of. I did him on the original Batman games as Ra's al Ghul. And I did Aslan, the lion for the Narnia toys. And the Battleship television ads. And oddly enough, I did him for the Lego movie too, some of that stuff. But I made a movie with this great South African animation company called Kumba. Sweet film if you've never seen it, released through Disney. And I was originally cast as the villain, the leopard Pango. But when they tried to sell the movie, get distributors, the distributor saying, "We want famous people. We want more famous, but we need Hollywood stars." So I got replaced by Liam Neeson, which I thought was pretty funny. But they kept me in the movie. I did another character, a couple of other characters. It was fun.
But I always love doing a Mojo. Mojo Jojo. For those of you who do not know, the Powerpuff Girls show. It should be the Mojo show.
I can actually watch that show and forget it's me. That's a lot of fun.
You've also voice doubled for John Goodman.
Yeah, that's right. I did him. I did the Sully toys for Monsters, and there was some movie, I can't remember which one it was. Oddly enough, I did James Woods, Sir Christopher Lee. I can't do it right now. You got to be down here, but Sir Christopher Lee for the Hobbit video games.
Questions? Do you want to turn to questions? Is there someone here that has a question for Roger?
I'll turn into a question.
Questions or requests right there in the back in the green?
The next one. Because it means I'm still working.
Anybody? Gentleman right here?
What is the most physically painful voice to do?
Ooh, it's a good question.
Well, one of the toughest sessions, one of the toughest things I ever had to do was working on the original Lord of the Rings games, because I was doing orcs, humans, elves, dwarves, wargs. So, the wargs, the big.
I lost my mint.
And that's not difficult, but when you're spending an hour having to do various levels of reaction shots that you do for video games, like, okay, let's see, we need decapitation small, decapitation medium, decapitation large, burning to death small, burning to death medium, so you spend hours going, ah! Over a long time, they go, okay, can you, more, can you, ah! After a while, you get very tired vocally. Gulp, and you actually, I actually almost passed out in that when we were doing the wars, the battle scenes.
Other questions? Right at the back in the blue?
Is there a voice that you kind of was offered to do but turned down?
Wow. Well, yeah, I had the opportunity to do Tigger in the recent Christopher Robin movie. I was actually voice doubling for, what's his name, the Irish actor, who was going to do that. But as it turns out, they fired him and just hired Jim Cummings again, who always does Tigger in the Disney movies and TV. And
good question. Right here.
What's the voice most people ask you, request for you to do?
Mojo. Because people like that funny guy in the mask. But people really love a Mojo. And I'm very happy they do.
one of the nicest compliments I've ever gotten was, there's a show, a program, for those of you who haven't seen it, where Mojo discovers that he's responsible for the creation of the Powerpuff Girls by accidentally knocking the chemical X into the Professor Utonium's formula for little girls. And at the end of the show, when they're going, and so the day, say, Mojo's just going, it was me. It was me. It was me. And after the show aired, my friend Tom Kane, who plays Professor Utonium, told me he was picking up his daughter and their friends from school, and they were crying because they'd all just watched the show, and we're so sorry for Mojo. That's the nicest thing I've ever heard. Poor Mojo.
Right here.
Yes, when you got tasked to be in Tales of the Borderlands, did you know a thing about the franchise before they called you?
No, you rarely, know what you're getting into. You don't get to see a whole script. So it's very important to have a good director who explains context to you. And I didn't discover until later the secret of... I won't tell you in case you want to play the game.
Right here, young man.
How many voices did you take until you took the Scream one or Ghostface?
Take, you mean how much
How many voices did you try?
did I try out?
Figured out which.
You must explain yourself, Ramsey.
How do you know my name?
I know all your names. I like to know who I'm looking at.
No, again, it was all there in the script, and I started out just, you have to be able to ramp this character. He's got to be kind of interesting, so I just add a little texture to it. It's, oh, hi. Oh, wrong number, I'm sorry. Say, what are you doing? A little sexy, a little interesting. But then you take it darker. When the cat puts its paw on the mouse's tail. Why, what do you think I said? It's more of a game, really. Can you handle that? Blondie.
Yes.
So you mentioned origins in theater. Did you ever continue on, or do you plan on returning if you haven't?
Well, I'm much older now. It's been many years since I did a live play, and I do enjoy it. The last thing I did was As You Like It. And I love Shakespeare. It's incredible. I have considered doing some, well, never mind.
But one of the questions I have is, have you ever done stand-up with your voices? Have you ever gone on stage doing voices?
No! Because I want people to laugh because I'm funny, not because they think I'm bad.
Who is this guy? Get him off. There's a tomato I can throw at him. Whatever.
Never.
No, never done stand-up.
Wow. Yes.
Sorry to ask you another question.
That's all right.
Oh, please.
Is there any part that you wish you'd gotten that you didn't get?
Well, there came a certain point where they were looking for a replacement for a certain character, and I really would have liked to have gotten it, but you might know him.
Obi-Wan never told you who your father was. No, I am your father. That was no mercy mission, princess. You're a part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor. Captain, take her away.
Wow. You know, in just this short time that we've been here, I'm fascinated at the fact that, you know, when I hear voices on movies, when I hear these voiceovers, I often think that there's a lot of effects, there's a lot of reverb and echo applied, but man, I'm fascinated with the fact that it sounds to me like we don't need to put any effects on any of the voices that you do.
Yay!
it's amazing. I don't know if it's coming across for you guys out in the audience, but it's amazing. Yes?
I just had a question because I know you said you were involved in theater. I was wondering if you had any other experience like with the theater. Like, did you say do any like stage direction or like anything else besides acting?
I directed a couple of things in my younger days. Actually, one Georgia State Theater, where I'm from Georgia, y'all, born and raised. But yeah, I won a little director's prize. It was nice for a little play by Edward Albee called The Feast.
Yeah, gentleman in the back there.
As a screen fan, I've always wondered, what is your favorite line of dialogue you had to deliver out of the entire film series?
Well, I don't know. Maybe some of the stuff I improvised that made it into the film. Because beginning with the second film, we started playing around more. And once we get something in the can, I just start coming out with something. And the first time we did that, it made it into the film with,
Have you ever felt a knife slice through human flesh and scrape the bone beneath?
And then when I did that, I was dealing with Jamie Kennedy. I could see him on the monitor, and he was. That's my job, scaring actor. And Wes called cut, and Jamie went, "That was great. Do that again."
Yes, sir.
Is there any voice or impersonation that you worked on for a very long time that you finally got and you were really proud of that you finally achieved, that you like worked on, and Lee Neeson or somebody that?
Well, as my wife will know, it's you have to go around practicing things before you get them. So sometimes I'm still imitating things.
As I did when I was a little child.
And that's how you just keep in practice or find what you can do. I'll tell you one thing that surprised me. They were looking for someone to voice double James Woods for White House Down. And I had been, generally, if I don't think I can do something good enough, well enough, I won't send it to my agent. And I had been, you don't want to waste the producer's time. So I'd been, they sent me several voice doubling things, and I hadn't sent them in because I didn't think I did them well enough. And I can't do James Woods, and I tried it, and it didn't work. I recorded it and sent it to my agent and say, you see, listen, I can't do James Woods. He sent it to Roland Emmerich, and I booked the job. So when you're watching White House Down, it's me going, okay, everybody, come in. All right. Okay. Or things like that.
Can I ask you a personal favor? Well, okay. My wife's a big Alan Rickman fan. And I would, can I record you doing some Alan Rickman so I can play it back for my wife?
All right.
Don't, it's not what you're thinking. Just
Mr. Potter. I can't think of any.
That's good.
I voice doubled for Alan Rickman in a couple of the Disney Alice movies. So when I can't think of any lines.
That's all right. She'll like that. Short enough.
Curious and curious.
Other questions?
Who are you,
the
Alice?
ears in the back.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you over the neighbors. They're so loud.
Sing you something. What would you like to hear? Well, generally I sing bass. I don't know.
When Israel was in Egypt's land, let my people go. So oppressed they could not stand. Let my people go.
Then it's Pee Wee.
Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt's land.
Tell Pharaoh to let my people go.
No one's ever asked that before.
Yes.
I've always wanted to ask you this question. What's your favorite scary movie?
Well, how much time do you have? Because I like scary movies. I like horror movies. I have quite a few that I like very much. Well, actually, one of my favorites used to be a little known, but Guillermo del Toro remade it. It was originally called Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. It was a made-for-TV movie back in the era when made-for-TV movies were new. And it starred Kim Darby as a woman left alone in her house most of the time by her husband, Jim Hutton, the father of Timothy Hutton, who had these three little things living in her house. Quiet, we'll get her tonight. And he would creep up the stairs to get her. That was one of my favorites. I like horror with some comedy to it, like Scream, because it helps make the scariness more scary. I love The Howling. Almost anything Joe Dante does is great. The Howling is really horrifying, but it's got a lot of great jokes in it. Like, I like that the TV reporters, when they're in bed, there's the big bad wolf and the three little pigs, the Disney cartoon on the TV behind them, and a copy of Howl by Ginsberg next to the bed. The Fearless Vampire Killers is one of my favorites. If you've never seen that, the Roman Polanski film, it's straight up hilarious, but it is really scary too.
Go back to the young man.
You know the Child's Play 2 years ago? Did you try to join in for The Voice?
No, I was never asked to audition for that. Thank you, Ramsey.
Yes.
Now, I know you have quite the range in your voice. I was just wondering, is there like specific like exercises that you do to like keep up with your range, or is it just like, you know, you're accustomed to it over the years, or?
Yes. Down, up, in, down, up. No, just as I say, you keep trying to stretch, I just imitate things, people I hear, people on TV, accents, sound effects, like, or I actually did a couple of video game programs, or they were actually virtual desktop pets, where I had to do 100 different dogs and 100 different cats. Realistic sounding animals, each one with a different voice and personality. So I knew a lot of if you play The Sims, I'm the checker playing chicken. And actually, you know, it's funny. I just remember my wife and I were in England once, and we went to see the play on the time Charles III. Anyway, we were in the audience at this theater, and there was a guy behind us who kept sneezing, and I tried to imitate his sneeze, but very quietly, you know. And my wife was going, "What are you doing? Stop! What?" But this guy was sneezing like. So you gotta just keep in practice. Keep annoying people.
Sorry to ask another question, but you
No.
for a lot of video games. Do you play any, and what are some of your
I don't play video games because I'm terrible at them. It's no fun to play a game that you're no good at. So, but I love doing them because they have most of the well-written ones. Again, it comes down to the writing. Are terrific. They're a lot of fun to do, and a lot of people don't know that video games make more money worldwide than films do. And you're seeing more and more movies made from video games, partly because of that.
I think a lot of people don't know how much goes into making those video games, and how many different roles there actually are.
Yeah, hundreds, literally hundreds.
Another question? Yes?
Thursday. I don't know, just as I said, I started out doing puppetry as a kid, and you have to come up with voices for the puppets you're doing, and so I started doing that, and then I just imitated a lot of things.
Is it ever frustrating? Maybe that's not the right word, but I look at your credits, and I'm sure everybody in the world has been exposed to your voice either through a movie, a television show, or a video game sometime in their lives. You could be walking down the street right beside them. They would have no clue who the heck Roger L. Jackson is.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Is that a big advantage of being a voice actor as opposed to being that person who's always on the screen and always recognizable?
Sort of, yes, because nobody's going to come over and ask for my autograph. They're just, who's this guy? Why has he got so much stuff? He's got 15 items and it's only 13 in the line. You know, or whatever. I always remember when Tom Hanks was on The Simpsons once. At the end credits, Tom Hanks says, "Remember, folks, if you ever see me in public, just let me be." Okay. But he's, of course, very recognizable. So you have a certain anonymity. Being a voice actor, you're basically putting on a mask. And people see the mask, which is what they should see.
So you're in that grocery line and someone says, hey, he's got 15 items, it says it's only 13. Would you ever throw in the Ghostface voice?
No, I wouldn't do that to people. You're a very bad man.
Other questions? Other questions? Yes. It's all right.
No,
Stop
please.
Apologizing.
Everybody ask as many questions as you want.
So, I saw a documentary on Celine Dion, and her voice is her life.
I can't do Celine Dion if that's what you want.
We'd love to see that and hear it.
Be honest about saying but she did so many creative things for her voice.
Uh-huh.
And one seemed like she had someone come in and actually like dislocate her jaw and stick it back in. So what's the weirdest
I might like to apply for that job, dislocating Celine Dion's jaw.
I'm a jaw dislocator. It's right here on my driver's license.
So what's the goofiest thing that someone has told you to do for, like, to help your voice?
Oh, nothing really goofy. They say, don't drink caffeine while I'm having iced tea, you know. Or you should never, you got to do the, I don't know, I keep thinking of Jack Lemmon as Felix Unger. Would you stop that, Felix?
It's my sinuses, I gotta do
Stop it, would you? People are looking.
I think I sprained my throat.
I don't do anything too funny. I just try to keep it moving. Try not to get...
You mentioned Peter Winchell, right?
Paul Winchell.
Paul Winchell, sorry.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Paul Winchell. Is there anybody else as a voice actor that you really looked up to? I mean, here in Canada, we were always exposed to Rich Little, right? Someone who was always doing those impressions.
Well, again, how many hours have you got? Because,
Well, I'd like to hear a few of them,
I
yeah.
grew up loving these guys. I'm the kind, you didn't have the internet when I was a kid, so you didn't have IMDb. You'd have to look around. I always tried to look at the credits at the end of the cartoon. I'm one of those who sits in the theater reading the credits to the very end, because the movie ain't over until it's over. You know what I mean? But, I love the guys like Jay Ward had his whole stable of guys like Paul Frees, the great Paul Frees, who, I don't know if you've ever been to Disneyland. He's the narrator at the Haunted House. He was the Pillsbury Doughboy in the Bullwinkle cartoons. He was Boris Badenov. And the Dudley Do-Right, the Canadian Mountie.
He was Inspector Fenwick. I say, Do-Right, Snidely Whiplash, that.
And, he did hundreds of different voices. He did on-camera work, too. He in Earth versus... We'll get to you, Ramsey. Take care. Rest your arm. Earth versus the Flying Saucers. He's the aliens. They put an effect on him. So Paul Frees was amazing. Bill Scott, who did Bullwinkle, was incredible, too. Because he was George and George of the Jungle, and all these people. The great June Foray, who was Rocky, Rocket Squirrel, Rocket J Squirrel. Golly, Bullwinkle! God. Paul Winchell, as I said, he was more of a puppeteer when I was growing up. He had his dachshund, I can't remember the dog's name, and Jerry Mahoney. They were sponsored by
Nestles. Nestle makes the very best chocolate.
And got so many great voice people. And I got to work with a lot of them, which makes me so happy. Not only am I president of Hair Club for Men, I'm a client too. I love working with people who I admired for years.
Ramsey's question?
Have you ever put did you ever do a prank phone call did you call one company and you did oh no, I forgot when?
I stopped doing prank phone calls when I was your age, Ramsey. But we were very primitive back then. We weren't like the Jerky Boys or anything. It was just, hello, I'm calling from the gas company. Is your refrigerator running? Well, you better go get it. Clunk.
Hey, let's go get some pizza.
I'm kind of sensing Ramsey's after your job. Have you mentored anybody in the voice industry?
Well, sometimes people come up and ask me for advice, how I got into it, what they can do. One thing I can tell you is if you're interested in voice acting, do any of you know D. Bradley Baker, the great voice actor? On American Dad, he's the voice of Klaus, the German scientist whose brain is in a goldfish. And he does a lot of different things. He has a website called iwanttobeavoiceactor.com. So if you're interested, you can go to his website, and he talks about almost everything involved with voice acting. Technique, getting an agent, the business. So there's a font of information there. But mostly, I tell people, get out, do theater, because that's where you really learn to act. And you get in front of an audience and get immediate feedback from people. I used to volunteer to read to kids in a local school of mine, and kids are the greatest audience because if they love you, they tell you. They're just, they love you. And if you stink, they let you know. They will let you know in no uncertain terms. But basically get in front of an audience and practice acting. Learn to act. Because that's what it's all about. Even somebody who does promo, tonight, the Love Boat. That was actually Ernie Anderson, the father of Paul Thomas Anderson, director of Boogie Nights, Magnolia, a lot of great films. It's all about control of technique. whatever the technique is you're doing for your discipline in voice work. There we go. Okay, now, new subject. Hi.
Reading your bio to prepare for this, one of my favorites in all of the list, and this is, I'm probably the only one in this room who would say this, the Mucinex voice.
Have you got Mucinex up here in Canada? That's great. Thank you very much for buying the product, at least when I was doing it. They got another guy now. But that was a lot of fun. Yeah. Sinus pressure, it's always the same. Welcome to the Coffee Cabana. 12 hours? I hate Mucinex.
I love Mucinex.
Are there other commercials that you've voiced that we might not be aware of?
Well, right now I'm doing stuff, I think they're mostly online ads for the National Cattlemen's Beef Association.
Okay.
I got to replace Robert Mitchum. Beef, it's what's for dinner. That's right. You watch, my favorite of their ads was, it's a long web ad, and they're just cooking a steak. And you watch the steak being cooked, sizzling. They flip it once, okay? And all I have to say is, that's right, for 2 minutes, we made you watch a steak cooking. Beef, it's what's for dinner.
Is that a viable way to earn a living voicing television commercials?
Oh yeah, it's a very good way to make a living.
Why, you know somebody who needs somebody? Oh, no. I got a card. I'll give you my card.
Yes.
What was it like to work with Wes Craven?
Tremendous fun and a great pleasure and honor. Never pop your peas in front of a microphone. No. He was a great man, a really just nice person, a gentleman. One of my favorite memories of him, we were working on Scream 4, and Wes was a bird fancier. He loved animals, birds in particular. We filmed Scream 4 during the previous summer in Michigan, but we had to do pickups during the winter in Michigan. So we're filming in this house, trying to stay away from the windows where you see the snow blowing outside, where there was none before. But we were up, we were working till about 3 or 4 in the morning. My wife was with me, sitting in the room while I'm going, I'll slice it. She's doing her knitting. We were coming home, it's 3 or 4 in the morning, driving back to the hotel, and we're driving through the grounds of the hotel, all covered with snow, trees everywhere. As we're driving by, there's Wes out in the snow with his camera, photographing night birds in the snow. He was just an amazing fellow.
I think we have time for a couple more questions. Yes, the young lady.
Do a what voice?
No.
I cannot do Taylor Swift.
I could do Mojo doing Taylor Swift. Only Mojo does not know any Taylor Swift songs, so too bad. Now I have destroyed your childhood. Hooray for evil.
Hey.
Yes, sir.
In the Scary Movie franchise, obviously the comedy version of the Scary movies, how do you feel about the What's Up guys?
Oh, it was funny. I love the Wayans. The Wayans can do anything. I think they're fantastic. That was funny. I actually, I did Ghostface for MTV, the MTV Movie Awards with Mike Myers once. And I did it for the movie Superstar with Molly Shannon. So Those are the only times outside of Scream that I do.
Except for here. For you. Hi. You like scary movies? What's your favorite scary movie?
Right answer. You get to live.
Any more questions? Yeah.
I'm legally obligated not to speak about that. I hear it's been held up for some legal hassles or something, but I'm looking forward to watching it. Tony Todd has a fight with Ghostface, so.
Yes.
Do you like when people do like parodies of like the Scream franchise and Ghostface and everything? Like, do you get a kick out of that? Like,
Sure. One of my favorite convention moments is I was there and a kid walked by my table and he said,
You're the voice of Scream? Yes, I am. I can do it better.
How many conventions would you do in a year?
as many as would like to have me there. I like coming out and meeting you guys. Thank you very much, because the only reason I'm here is because of you. Thank you very much for your interest.
I think that's a great way to end this. Thanks a lot, Roger L. Jackson.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you all.
Excellent.
Now I have to go back and walk real slow.
Oh, by the way, watch more cartoons. Classic Warner Brothers, MGM.
I forgot some minutes.